The history of rogue finishing moves, from vanilla WoW to now. Now, what even is a finishing move? A finishing move is an ability you can use to spend combo points with, or finish with. The ones I'll be going over are Eviscerate, Deadly Throw, Recuperate, Envenom, Expose Armor, Slice, and Dice. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's start with Deadly Throw. The first one I'm covering is Deadly Throw. Deadly Throw was added in BC, and it required a thrown weapon to use. It did some damage and slowed the target by 50% for 6 seconds, but it would not increase the duration of the slow effect, or it would not increase the slow effect per combo point. So if you use a 1 combo point Deadly Throw, it would slow the target for 6 seconds. If you had a pair of PvP gloves, it would give Deadly Throw an interrupt. So what rogues usually would do is against mages is they would get 1 combo in them, and when they frost snow and hope to get polymorph off, the rogue would cast Deadly Throw and interrupt it. But then in Wrath they made the interrupt effect a talent, and to give it Deadly Throw the interrupt, and removed the interrupt from all BC PvP gloves. No one still liked to use it though, because you had to spend talent points to get the interrupt instead of having a piece of gear to do it. And combats where Blizzard made it so if you had 5 combo points, it would do the interrupt effect and remove the talent for it. Still, no one used it. In a later patch of Mist, they made it so it would do the interrupt effect at 3 combo points instead of 5. Then in Warlords, it was changed to do 5 back to 5 combo points to do the interrupt effect, and the slow was buffed from 50% to 70%, which basically made it so rogues had a crippling poison at range. Still, no one used it. Blizzard was trying so hard to get rogues to use Deadly Throw that they eventually just gave up and removed it from the game in Legion. Now, let's talk Eviscerate. Now, Eviscerate is an ability added to rogues at launch that just did instant damage per combo point. But in vanilla, it had this interesting thing where it did not scale with your gear at all. So if you were a vanilla rogue, you may remember the infamous stun rogue who killed max level players with only a starting zone dagger. Well, those kills were possible because Eviscerate did static damage, so gear did not matter. It would do the same damage depending on the rank. Of course, also all that CC took, that doesn't really matter. What does matter is that that just didn't scale with your gear. Now it has changed. Now it hasn't really changed too much over the years. It's been buffed and nerfed. It was also but it was turned into a sub rogue only ability. I think in Legion. Editor, please put up when it was turned into a sub rogue only ability. I forgot. The only other changes were the level requirements. So in Cataclysm, it was no longer able to be learned at level 1. It was learned at level 3. But then in Shadowlands, it was learned at level 2. But I'm not going to be covering too much more about this ability. And now Envenom. Envenom was added in BC, and this finishing move was similar to Eviscerate, except it did less damage and it would consume stacks of deadly poison on your target and switch it out for instant poison damage. No one really liked it. Did so much since it would remove deadly poison. Then in Wrath, Blizzard added a glyph to make it not consume deadly poison. But it wasn't used as the damage didn't scale with attack power, while Eviscerate did. Then in Mist, it was changed to no longer consume deadly poison. Oh, and it was also made to assassination rogues only. So it was basically assassinations rogue version of Envenom. I mean Eviscerate. Right? Then in Warlords, it would give you a buff that would increase your chance to apply poisons. But there was also a small bug in Warlords that that where if you dodged it or with the target, if you missed or the target dodged it, it would consume it would consume your combo points. But that was fixed in patch 6.02, 4 days after the patch released, and that's all that has changed. That's all that the major changes that have gone through Venom. The only other changes were just buffs and nerfs to its damage, and that's pretty much it. Exposed armor. Exposed armor was added to rogues at the launch of the game. It was originally named Exposed in the beta, but then it was changed to Exposed armor. What it would do is reduce your target's armor by a fixed amount. It really wasn't useful in vanilla because Warrior's Sunder armor reduced more damage than Exposed armor, and both debuffs did not stack. Then in BC, rogues had a talent called Improved Exposed armor, which made Exposed armor reduce 50% more armor to your target. And the new rank of Exposed armor reduced more armor than 5 stacks of Sunder armor. But as you all know, as the people who played in BC, melee weren't wanted at all, and weren't great DPS. But then in Wrath it was changed to reduce your armor by a percentage instead of a fixed amount. Instead of it reducing more armor per combo point, it just lasted longer per combo point. And the talent that increased the armor reduced for Exposed armor was changed to just reduce the energy cost. But then in Mist it was changed so it would apply the weaken the target's defenses instead of armor, and it would award combo points. So I guess it was really changed instead of a finisher to kind of like Ghostly Strike, where it would hit the target and give you a buff instead of the target's doing a debuff. But Blizzard tried so hard to get rogues to use Exposed armor that they just removed it from the game of Warlords of Draenor. Recuperate. Now let's go over Recuperate. Recuperate was the rogue's first self-heal for the rogues. What it would do is consume combo points on any of your nearby targets and restore 3% of your maximum health every 3 seconds. And it lasted longer per combo point. Then later in Cataclysm it was nerfed from 3% down to 2%. Then buffed back up from 2% to 3% again. I think the reason was that why Blizzard buffed it back up again was I think they saw people just stacking it all the way to the top on many enemies or something. I don't know, but I think it was just over nerfed. And not really too many huge changes happened into this finishing move, other than in Mist when it was buffed to 4%. It was buffed from 3% to 4%. But in Warlords it was going to be buffed to 5% maximum health, but that change actually never made it to live. I just looked that up after creating this video. Blizzard thought that giving a class a self-heal that could only be used if you had combo points was a little unfair compared to the other classes. I mean, that's what I wouldn't say Blizzard would think that. I mean, that's what I really would think, but you never know. And then it was removed in the game and replaced with Crimson Vial, as we all know of today. Now, let's go over Slice and Dice. Slice and Dice was another rogue ability that was added to rogues at the launch of the game. In Vanilla, and what it would do is increase your attack speed. And in Vanilla, it had 2 ranks of rank 1 doing 20%, increase your attack speed by 20%, and at rank 2 it would increase your attack speed by 30%. But it was bugged. But of course, in Vanilla it was bugged, so it wouldn't play the animation. But they didn't fix that until patch 1.12. But that doesn't really matter either. But however, this finisher really didn't go through a lot of changes. But in Wrath it was buffed to 40% from 30%, and in Mist it was the duration was increased by 3 seconds by each comp point. And Legion had many changes to Slice and Dice. Buffing from 40% to 90%. and then they changed it from 90% to 100% and gave rogues 50% more energy regeneration. And the most broken change it went through was 100% to 125%, and then BFA was tremendously nerfed from 125% to back to just to 50%, and it was still only usable by outlaw rogues. But then in Shadowlands, it was made to available to all rogue specs again, and that's pretty much how it has worked ever since. Now let's go over the last one, Rupture. Now Rupture was another ability added to rogues at the launch of the game. This ability has an interesting history. In its first form, it was a finisher that did bleed damage over time and lasted longer per comp point. It wasn't really used by rogues in vanilla because it took up one of the debuff slots, and plus its damage was like awful. But then in BC, it was buffed and there were more debuff slots, and it was actually pretty good to use over Eviscerate, but it was incapable of critting of when Eviscerate was capable of critting. Except the special thing about Rupture in vanilla, and maybe to now, I don't know. Someone leave a comment if this is still a thing, or check it later. Is that it was the only bleed that it was a bleed that the bleed wasn't affected by armor like how Eviscerate was, and you would do more damage to a bear druid or a plate wearing class or male wearing class with the dot. And it didn't really have too many major changes throughout its I guess ability. It didn't have too many major changes that I can think of, and that is rogue finishing moves. Any finishing moves that I missed? Was there more to a finishing move that I listed that I didn't mention in the video? Well, leave a comment down below and I'll reply to you.